Streaming, yes. Recording, yes. Back up, recording, yes.
8 feet of snow on the ground before we got far and few between back then. You'd listen on the radio, hoping that your school came up. Oh, hell yeah.
Everybody's asking for money, huh?
Yep. Hey Gary, can we frame this camera, please? Yeah, I don't need the attorney. I need I need John. There, see him on the left? That's our shot, yeah. That's it. Yep. What?
5 seconds away. Alright, let's see.
Yep. Hemorrhoids here. Yeah, hemorrhoids here. He's dressed like the hemorrhoid guy again.
I really want to send that to him anonymously. With the pink like towel around his head, pink slippers. Here we are, we're live. It's funny how it came up on the internet. Well,
Gary, could you do me a favor? Make sure that the mayor's microphone is near where he can get it, because it's way off to his left.
Anna. Anna, you good? You need anything? And I'm not
crack my back.
Huh? Right. Well, just throw something at me. Yes.
Who hit me?
Actually, because I'm about to put my earphone in and start chilling. Oh boy.
Alright, we're live on YouTube.
Testing. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Leesburg City Commission meeting, Monday, February 14th. Commissioner Christian will lead us in the invocation.
We all stand, please, bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for tonight. We thank you for being able to live in such a great city such as Leesburg. We thank you, Honor, for the leadership and management of our city, our mayor, our commissioners. We thank God for them, their families. We pray for health. We pray for safety and prosperity. Thank you for our city management and our staff that make our city run so efficiently and effectively. Tonight, we pray you would touch our hearts and our minds. We make decisions that would be beneficial for all the residents and those who come and visit our city. We pray especially prayer for peace around the world. We pray for our troops that fight for us to enjoy the freedom that we all share and enjoy. As we watched a great Super Bowl on yesterday, we saw a country that came together to root for two teams. Tonight we root for our city, we root, God, for our country. We pray now for the day that we celebrate a Love Day. We pray that we can share more love throughout our city and our communities. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
We have no proclamations tonight. We have no presentations, so I'll move to public comments. This section is reserved for members of the public to bring up matters of concern or opportunities for praise. Issues brought up will not be discussed in detail at this meeting. Issues will either be referred to the proper staff or will be scheduled for consideration at a future City Commission meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. No public comments. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Routine items are placed on the consent agenda to expedite the meeting. If the commission staff wish to discuss any item, the procedure is as follows. Pull the item from the consent agenda, vote on remaining items with one roll call vote, discuss each pulled item, and vote by roll call. Any items the commission would like to pull?
3C2 for me, sir.
5B, 2 and 3.
5B2, is it A and
2
B?
and 3.
2 and 3?
Yeah.
Two
A and B
and
and
B,
3.
okay.
Yeah. It's kind of a package deal.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay, motion to approve the remaining items on consent agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Christian,
Yes.
Commissioner Bury,
Yes.
Mayor Peterson.
Yes. Would someone please introduce 5B2?
I'll introduce to be read by title only, please.
Resolution expressing the intent of the City of Leesburg, Florida to incur costs related to its water and sewer system, expressing the intent for purposes of compliance with United States Treasury Regulation, Section 1.150-2, to reimburse with the proceeds of revenue bonds the capital expenditures made with respect to such project, providing for the issuance by the city of notes, bonds, or other obligations in one or more series of aggregate principal amount not exceeding $40 million, of which shall be applied to pay the cost of such project, and providing an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay. Any comments, commissioners?
Yeah, I just pulled this because I wanted Al just to give us a little quick idea of what we have in store for everybody.
All right, little quick, but a little detail as well. So 5 minutes I ask of you. This is obviously a topic we've talked about on several occasions, probably over the past year or so in a little more detail and even before that. So the short version is that the city will be needing more wastewater capacity. But to get there, let's go back a little bit. Say 2016, late 2016 timeframe, we were approached by the villages to purchase the 470 property. We closed on that deal a year later, November. Actually, I think it was like November 13th of 17. But we contracted, put the offer under contract in 16. Anyway, that time frame, 3-4 years ago now, we did not have the type of growth that we're seeing. We saw that the village's opportunity was really the best opportunity for growth, not just for the city, but economic development wise as well, through the creation of spurring on the service economy that would help our regional economy as well as our local economy. And we, at that time, we kind of worked 3 deals with the villages. We referred to it as the three-legged stool, the water deal, the gas deal, and the land deal. So this really goes back to the start of the wastewater deal, and I just refer to it as the water deal. At that time, not a lot of growth. We had about a 3.5-4 million gallon turnpike wastewater facility that we had built in the early 2000s for what we thought was going to be the growth then, that pretty much came to a screeching halt. A lot of that development was centered around the development of Secret Promise at the time. So fast forward from 2005 timeframe to that, that next 10 years to the 2015, 2017 timeframe, we had about a 3.5-4 million gallon plant that was only processing about 1 million gallons of wastewater a day. So at the time we thought, man, we got a lot of capacity. So we entered into a deal with the villages to sell 3 million gallons a day of capacity. They would ease into this incrementally as they develop south of 44. And the deal basically was they got 3 million gallons of capacity. They paid us $9 million in increments of $3 million each, basically. There's some variation in there, which, by the way, they prepaid about $6 million of that when they sold some bonds here recently. So we're sitting on about $6 million in cash from that deal. And then we bulk sale wastewater to the villages. And that rate started, I can't remember where it started out. I think it started out around $275 per thousand, and the base rate, which is really nominal. Right now, their current rate is $298 per thousand, which is the bulk rate. So having said that, the villages we had to do a debt issue last year, if you recall. We did for $15 million. Part of that was paid for with the $9 million that we got, or that we anticipated growth, and we did a bank note on that. That bank note payment's about $1.3 million. As we finished off that villages deal, we contemplated, do we need to go beyond upgrading the plant to get it to 4.5 MGD? Even in 17-18 timeframe, as we started off the development of that plant, we still didn't see the type of numbers that we're seeing now. Today, we see significant growth. Bottom line, today's agenda is indicative of that. So we are now at a position whereby summer 2025, we're going to be over capacity at the turnpike plant. And because of the numbers that we have had in terms of non-villages growth going into the turnpike plant, once the villages hits their capacity number of 3 MGD, 3 million gallons a day, we'll probably be under an order by the department to move to the next phase and increase your capacity. You're issued a note by the Department of Health that once you reach 80% of your capacity, you need to be underway and under design to expand. We weren't sure a couple of years ago we were going to have that problem. At this time, we do have that problem. So we have been, as you know, for the past year, looking at different ways to finance this. We carved out some ARP money, the American Recovery Act money. I think we carved out $6 million to put towards this project. We're now at a phase where we're finishing off the rehabilitation project with Wharton Smith and with Dewberry Hydro as our engineers. And the phases of this project are, first, we have to formally announce by resolution, which is on tonight, that we seek a loan. That allows us to start going off formally into the market and gaining a note. The number that we had talked about was 30 million. That was based on our work with our engineers and with Wharton Smith, our contractor. So we feel very good that that's where the expansion from the 4.5 to 6 MGD will be, is at 30 million. We put an extra 10 million in there basically just to give us some wiggle room for unforeseen issues or other utilities that may need a little bump as far as managing the growth that we envision. As far as a financial mechanism, I think we're in a really good position 3 ways. Number one, when the Villages hits their 3 MGD, which is scheduled probably for sometime late 24 at their current pace, when they are at 3 million gallons a day, our annual revenue from the Villages will be about 3.1 million. So, and the math is easy. So it's $2.98 per thousand, divide that by 3 million, multiply that by 30, multiply that by 12, and you get 3.099. So it's about 3.1 million in revenue. That number then will now potentially be split. The existing debt, which we took on, is about 1.3, and we're looking at a note on the 30 million that would definitely impact the wastewater fund. 30 million between 20 and 30 years, depending whether we go bank note or bond, at somewhere between 2 and 3%. So at 2.5%, say split the baby, we're looking at somewhere probably around a $2 million note for the 30 million. So A, the revenue is covered by the income from the Villages. Secondly, the need for expansion is new growth. So not only do we have the cash flow from the Villages bulk sale, we'll also have the impact fee money from the new non-Villages development. So your impact fee money is $2,500 a unit. So we've got 25,000, so here's the math on that. So 25,000 units on the books, whether that gets built or not, we don't know. Half of that, about 12,000 units, is potentially the Villages. That leaves another 12,000, and my math isn't adding up, but I'm in the ballpark. So you're looking 12,000 times the 2,500 is 30 million bucks. So as impact fees come in, that bond note not only will be covered, but those impact fees will then cover that, go back into the construction fund, which will help capital improvements beyond the plant. And then third, the wastewater fund right now is in a position where for the last couple years, we've been putting away about $1 million a year. So between our cash, the Villages revenue, and impact fees, we're in a position where we can make this, hopefully without impacting or having to increase rates. And if growth vanishes in 2005, we really shouldn't be in a horrible predicament, and we'll be sitting on capacity, which we'll need in the future. So the resolution says, hey, we need to go out, we're looking for a loan somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 million. Depending on where we're at, we'll probably be in the 30 million ballpark. And then the second note is we do need to get construction started, and that needs to start with design. So the 2.4 at $2,428,370 contract with, for lack of better words, Hydro is the engineering to design it. Now keep in mind too, the engineering fee, the 10% rule. So the 2.4 million, it's a pretty reasonable project with a known engineer who has done pretty good work for us in the past, and specifically on the expansion. So we feel good that that number is comfortable. Then there's about $189,000 payment to Wharton Smith through our construction manager procurement process. We're recommending that we stay with Wharton Smith because there's some efficiencies there to roll over. They're included in the design process, so that fee is $190,000. So in all, you can look at your design costs, including your contractor, which hopefully will find efficiencies in moving on. That's why we're comfortable with the 30 million, that the next two items, 2 and 3, are those two contracts. So say 2.6 million for the initial design to get us from the 4.5 to 6 MGD.
Thank you, Al.
So the 6 million for the American Recovery Act and the 6 million cash, which would be 12 million. Are we using that? Or why would we borrow for it if we got 12 million for those purposes?
The full amount doesn't have to be 30 million. So the less we borrow, the better we're going to be for keeping rates and maintaining rates. So my recommendation to you with the American Recovery Act money was to take those funds and put it into the wastewater fund so that we can manage the note on the other hand, watch our cash flow issues, keep our rates down. Second, there was a little sub-note that we approved that $6 million on it that said wastewater or other reuse projects. So while we're still in the infancy of some other reuse projects, there's still the goal to find more reuse water out, which will help us on the CUP side, consumptive use permit project. So we're still flirting with Catrali to take their wastewater. If we take their their reuse water in their orange juice manufacturing process. If we take their reuse water, that will help us on the reuse side and keep our CUP numbers down. We don't know what the project cost to take their reuse water is, but it's probably going to be somewhere in the $1.5 to $3 million range. That sounds like a big ticket, but it's not going to be a big ticket, especially if it has significant input that we can get somewhere between 0.5 to 1 million MGD a day in reuse, which is going to help us on the water side. If that occurs, I'll be coming back to you saying, rob that 6 million and use it on water instead of wastewater, so now I might need more cash. The third option out there is if we can fix all the pieces of the puzzle as we move along, because we've got 5 years to spend that money, that $6 million might want to be something that you reallocate completely. So the priority of that 6 million is wastewater first, reuse really 1A if we can make that work. And if both of those are taken care of, you might have some residual ARP monies that then you can go do some other projects with. But I would say keep that 6 million in wastewater for now. Let's get down the road, see where we're at with design costs, see where we're at with Wharton Smith. I think all that's probably going to take about a year to iron out.
And in terms of financing, we'll all come back before the commission anyway. I mean, you're seeking up to 40, but this will all come back.
Yeah, everything, you're not, the only thing you are spending tonight is you're spending the 2.4 and the 190. And in the agenda transmittal, we said spend ARP money on that. So we're, wastewater fund sitting on $18 million in cash. That's exclusive of the ARP money. So we can always go back later and shift around some financial blocks. But for the purposes of this tonight, to keep the wastewater numbers looking good, we're saying use the ARP money. So later on, we could pay back the ARP money with wastewater, or you don't spend the other three. We've got lots of options, but we're set up right now to protect the wastewater fund, keep the cash flow there good while we're tackling this big $30 million project.
So you're going to shrink our debt amount based on that summary right there.
That's what I hope to do, you know, but we'll come back. We need to come back and look at what the debt payments are, what kind of interest rate we get, what we can do. We don't want to raise rates. We nip them every year by CPI, which keeps us pace. So, you know, the last thing I want to do is come back to you and say we need a 25% increase in rates because we can't afford our debt. That's not going to be the case. But we're still being conservative and using cash available and we're being flexible. Flexibly conservative, I would say.
Okay. Any other comments from the commission?
Yeah, and I hope the 30 million number is right. Our prior experience in today's environment said that those numbers are like growing literally every week, and I know we saw that with the first. So I think it is wise to have the flexibility and hope we don't need it. And then I just want to say, kind of for the public that maybe hear us talk about all these big numbers, and that we make money on wastewater. This is really a case of us needing the money up front to build the asset, then the impact fees come pay us back, and then this, $3 million a year coming in, at some point, it becomes income that we have then used in the past to improve the city, so keep rates low. So we do make money on these projects.
No, thank you. Anything else, commissioners? Public comments? Roll call.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Christian,
Yes.
Commissioner Burry,
Yes.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Mayor Peterson.
Yes. Someone please introduce 5B3.
Introduce and recommend, read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an amendment to an existing professional services agreement with Dewberry Engineers, Inc., DBA Dewberry Hydro, for professional engineering design services related to the Turnpike Wastewater Treatment Facility Phase 2 expansion for an amount not to exceed $2,428,370 and providing an effective date.
Move approval.
Second.
Comments, commissioners?
I think Al covered it. I pulled all three just to get it out there, but it was all covered in Al's presentation.
Okay. Public comments? Okay. That was 3A, so now would someone introduce 5.3B?
I'll introduce to be read by title only, please.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a pre-construction services agreement with Wharton Smith, Inc. for construction manager at risk, CMAR, pre-construction services related to the city's Turnpike Wastewater Treatment Facility, Phase 2 expansion for an amount not to exceed $148,381 and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
And again, that was just part of the,
No commission comments. Public comments? Roll call.
Commissioner Christian,
Yes.
Commissioner Burry,
yes.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Mayor Peterson.
Yes. Would someone please introduce 5C2?
Introduce and recommend, read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, providing funding for the Home Improvement Grant Program for projects located within the major corridors and community redevelopment agency areas and providing an effective date.
Motion for approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Comments from the commissioners?
I pulled this one, Mr. Mayor. I know the city staff's been working hard. I was trying to figure out the methodology that we use on the actual project cost and the award amount. Seems like we only have like $25,700 that we're awarding, and we have $107,000 that we budgeted, I'm assuming, and if we would have funded the full amount, it would have been $47,998. So I was trying to get the methodology of how do we come up with the award amounts? Was it income based or?
Good evening, Commission. Dan Miller, Planning and Zoning Manager. $5,000 is the maximum reward or award allowed under the home improvement grant. So pretty much everything, we went ahead and recommended the full amount possible.
I see a couple, Taylor got recommended $2,500 and Mobley $3,200.
Yes, sir, and that's why we bring it to the commission, because we're frankly not sure on some of these how to properly judge them. Taylor was a fence project. I think it was something like $10,000 total, a couple different types of fence. And then Mobley was foundation repair, and I think it was, we could change those numbers, but those are just best estimates. They're not anything in particular.
And the 5,000 was that, that's the commission ordinance that we don't do 5,000 per?
Yes, sir. Under the home improvement grant, the maximum is 5,000.
Okay. Well, I would like to see everyone get the 5,000 since we have such a low number that actually came in. I thought we would get more numbers that came in. And I see down Bowers on Washington Street, incomplete. We emailed the homeowner. Is that?
Yes, sir, I think there were two. Under
with mobile.
Bowers, we repeatedly contacted them. And then on Ivory, which is number 21-332, the program does not cover mold.
Oh, okay. Well, Apostle, I'd like to amend my motion that we do the other two at $5,000. It's $2,500 for one and $3,200 for, well, the other one $4,000 because she only needed $4,000. So it's really $800 for her and the other one with the fence. And for me, I just want, if we're gonna improve neighborhoods, there's no need to give a person that we're telling you have to be on a low income, give them a third of what it costs or almost to do something they can't do it. I think it just kind of defeats the purpose of getting something done. So I would like to see if we can amend that motion to move Taylor up to 5,000 and move Mobley up to 4,000. She's at 3,200 and one's at 2,500.
I'll second the amendment.
Comments from the commission?
It's fine.
Comments from the public? Okay, so roll call on the amended motion.
Commissioner Burry,
Yes.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Christian,
Yes.
Mayor Peterson.
Yes. So now, now we need to approve the original motion. Any comments from the commission?
I would just say, while I'm happy to do these, I've been a bit disappointed with this program in general, and I just don't know that it's, I mean, we talk about a budget next year. It's not something I kind of really want to see. I think we'd be better to target an area and use those CRA funds to do a big project or something. I was in favor of it when we did it, but it's just been kind of disappointing.
Yeah, no, thank you. Any other comments from the commission? Public comments? Roll call.
Commissioner Connell,
Just voting on the original. We
Oh.
amended it, now we're just voting on the
Yes,
original.
yes.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Christian,
Yes.
Commissioner Burry,
Yes.
Mayor Peterson.
Yes. Moving on to public hearings and non-routine items. 6A1 is a second reading. Someone please introduce.
I'll introduce Sainsbury Rabbit Hall.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, amending the boundary lines of the Village Community Development District Number 14 pursuant to Chapter 190 Florida statutes and providing an effective date.
Any comments?
Move for approval.
Second.
Comments, sorry. Any comments from the commission? If none, public comments? Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Christian,
Yes.
Commissioner Burry,
Yes.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Mayor Peterson.
Yes. Moving on to 6B. These are all first readings, so we'll not be voting on these, but would someone please introduce 6B1?
And do 6B1, recommend read by title only.
An ordinance amending the City of Leesburg Code of Ordinances, Chapters 1, 7, and 10, with updates to the previously approved ordinance number 20-01, with the current versions of the Florida building codes, providing clarifications to the permitting process and providing an effective date.
Motion for approval?
Move for approval.
First reading.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had a little note right there with an asterisk on that one. Any comments from the commission?
No.
Comments from the public? Okay, that item will lay over. Would someone please introduce 6B2?
Introduce Sainsbury Rabbit Hall.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 37.6 plus minus acres from City of Leesburg PUD Planned Unit Development to City of Leesburg PUD Planned Unit Development to allow for a single-family residential development for property generally located north of County Road 48 and west of South Quarters Road as legally described in sections 15, 21, and 22, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
And I think Dan Miller has a few comments on this one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to bring to your attention that this is a zoning which was approved in 2009 under Ordinance 0920, And during the recent Planning Commission meeting, there was actually a request for a change on the setbacks from 25 feet to 20 on the front, 18 to 15 on the rear, and 7.5 to 5 on the sides. That was approved by the Planning Commission, but unfortunately, we didn't get that typed in before we put this in the packet, so that was the only change.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
Thanks, sir.
I think Commissioner Burry, you had a few comments?
Yeah, one comment, this was for 150 units on 38 acres?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
Exact-
that's a lot more units than,
It's actually reducing the density from 194 on the previous to I think it's, I forget the exact number, I have the wrong note here.
less
but
than 3.
It did come down.
2?
The density went to 3.9.
Right.
It's about the same as it was previously, but it reduced the number of units.
Yeah, I'd like to see the density down around 3 that I think I've talked about before. I also, that's Troon Creek, that's a little different. Got a lot of confusion here tonight with so many. I also would like to see some discussion about the lighting, dark sky lighting, and putting trees out, planting trees in every yard.
In fact, I was going to ask for all of these because I think those are good ideas. I think we can ask a little bit more in the current environment for the developments. Is that if maybe because this is first reading, next meeting they're not going to be back for second yet, I assume, for most of these, maybe the small ones. But if you could come back with some generic language for the
Sure.
for the dark sky and the trees that we could just put in all these and just everything kind of as a standard going forward.
do
That way
that.
it's just all up front. Everyone knows.
In addition to that, Commissioner Burry and I had a discussion a few weeks ago. These were all in process prior to that discussion, but duly noted, and we will definitely do that.
And then I had a third thing, and kind of that would apply to, I think that I would want to apply to this and then all other PUDs we have. And this is what I want to talk to Al a bit about is, so all of our PUDs have this language that says the developer, I guess, own the roads, but we might take them if we agree to take them, and it's kind of very unclear. But we know what's going to happen in 20 years if we don't take them, and residents come in angry to the commission about the state of the roads, is the city's going to take the roads. So with that being said, I think we should just, from talking with Al, is that what we should put in there is that the city's going to take the roads. That's what we're going to do, but the roads have to be built to city standards. That way we don't end up with bad roads that we are now responsible for. So I want to see that to apply to all of these and everything. And then on this one specifically, and I've talked to the developer about this, because this is the one that backs up kind of to core slab almost, is would want something in their HOA documents that would require anyone buying property in there to sign some sort of form that our staff and the city attorney could come up with, acknowledging the industrial use adjacent to this property, and it was there when they bought it, and that it's something that everyone, but both the original residents, and if they go to sell it, that person then has to sign a specific document, not part of something else, acknowledging that use, so there's no confusion.
We'll do that. Thank you.
And just for my clarification, what about are you okay with the density? I mean, Commissioner Burley wanted to reduce it. I want to see where the commission is on that at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think the three per acre is kind of where we've been on everything else. I don't know that we've done any 3.9 recently, other than maybe apartments. Yeah, I would agree that the 3 is more reasonable.
Any other comments from the commission?
No, fine.
Public comments?
I had said that I wasn't going to say anything, but after I hear your
Sir, can we get your name and address, please?
Danny Watson, I live in Oklahoma.
Did you get that address?
27147 South Waters Road.
No, you're good. Thank you.
I'm good?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I wasn't going to say anything, but after I hear you all talking about all the growth and everything that is coming out there where I live. You know, I've been there over 50 years, and I never seen changes like I'm seeing right now, which I know I can't stop. But I think the planning was not too perfect, because as of now, we having a traffic problem out there. And when the villages ever move in, it's gonna be worse. We having accidents and everything, you know, but I don't see any changes. You all talking about the road conditions out there. You know, we need more road space or whatever. And the Windy Oaks gonna be built right next to me, and I heard you saying about the existing residents. You know, I know it's gonna be a HOA, and I'm in the county, like I said the last time, I live in the county, and across the fence is me is the city. And, you know, I don't know what's gonna happen to that in the future, but, you know, I never attend meetings, but since I'm involved now, I think I'm gonna start coming, because I like to know what's the future gonna bring, you know, to our little city, Oklahoma. Like, to me, y'all just stepping all over it. You know, you're not taking it into consideration. I know everything's about money, and which money talks, but you know, poor little Oklahoma is about done swindled up to a little button. You know, we've got hardly nothing now.
No, thank you for your comments, and the other
All right,
commissioners
thank you.
can chime in and help me. You know, unfortunately, the roads come after the development. I wish it was different, but, you know, it's the way it works in the state. Other commissioners,
The roads should come first before the traffic like that.
I would probably agree with that.
They are doing it. Aren't they straightening 470 still? Is that still going on?
In Sumter.
It's just in Sumter. Okay.
Any other public comments? Go ahead. Yeah.
If I may, Mayor and Commission, thank you very much. Very briefly, Jason Searle, Gray Robinson, Orlando here on behalf of the applicant. Just a point of clarification, if I may. On the density question, and from our plan that's in the PUD packet for this evening, proposed density 3.22 dwelling units per acre at the 121 unit total, which is the same that it's been all the way throughout, and a similar density to what was approved in the 2009 PUD for Windy Oaks. With me this evening is Allison McGillis with Poulos and Bennett. Our thought was we would save the full-blown presentation for second reading. We'd of course be happy to answer any questions or expand on any of the comments that were made this evening, and appreciate the consideration. Thank you.
Dave, I guess I want to be sure we're all clear on density. I've heard two different numbers. I heard the 3.9. I'm guessing it's gross versus usable, but we can
It's the-
clarify that.
150 divided by 38, which
Yeah.
comes out to 3 point. Did
He
someone do that?
said 121.
Yeah, but it's 150 in the PUD.
But the PUD says 121 on this one, and it says proposed density is 3.22. That's on page 15 and 16.
Are you using gross? I don't have a calculator. If somebody could do that, 150 divided by.
Well, I guess my understanding is it's the same density as before, and I think 3.2, 3.22, the commission may have a different opinion than 3.9.
Right.
So this is not correct, because what I'm looking at is total number of dwelling units 121, 50 by 120 minimum lot, 121 units, proposed density 3.22 BU.
Is that correct? Because I
And the one, but it's somewhere else. I'm on page 315. It says 150.
It says 150.
That's what, Dan, the cheat sheet you gave me was 150, 38 acres.
I'm showing 150 in the PUDs.
I'm on
If it's-
page 320. I'm on page
Okay.
329.
I have
So thank you for the.
I have an error in the PUD. It's
Okay.
121.
121.
Okay,
Thank you.
So,
Appreciate
okay,
the
no, thank you.
clarification.
So
Sorry we missed that.
so is the commission okay at the 3.22? Just out of respect to the developer?
Yeah, I'm okay if we get extra trees and the lighting and stuff. It's 8 houses difference between 3 and 3.22.
Okay, there, are we good?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So Dan's gonna bring back a standard plan for the new developments going forward with the dark lighting and the trees. That's what we're hearing. Okay.
Well, yeah, with dark lighting, trees, and a little better in the transportation paragraph, a specific reference to road construction.
And 121 units.
And 100, yeah. Well,
121.
those are the three, For those are the three standard changes we'll be making. And then with respect to this, to Windy Oaks, we'll add in the
Okay.
one.
The roads in the HOA statement.
Okay. Any other public comments? Okay. That one will lay over also. Someone please introduce 6B3.
And do 6B3 and recommended by read by title only, sir.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, annexing certain real property consisting of approximately 41.69 plus minus acres, being generally located east of County Road 44 and north of Sing Road, lying in Section 1, Township 19 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, providing that said property so annexed shall be liable for its proportionate share of the existing and future indebtedness of said city, providing that such annexed property shall be subject to all laws and ordinances of said city, as if all such territory had been a part of the City of Leesburg at the time of passage and approval of said laws and ordinances, providing that such annexed territory shall be placed in City Commission District 1, and providing an effective date.
Comments from the commission? Public comments? Okay. This item will lay over. Would someone please introduce 6B4?
Introduced and asked to read by title only.
An ordinance amending the future land use map of the comprehensive plan of the City of Leesburg, changing the future land use map designation of certain property containing 41.69 plus minus acres from Lake County Rural Transition to City of Leesburg Estate Residential for property generally located east of County Road 44 and north of Sing Road as legally described in Section 1, Township 19 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Comments from the commission? Public comments? Okay. This item will lay over as well. Someone please introduce 6B5.
Introduced and asked to read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 41.69 plus minus acres from Lake County R1 Rural Residential to City PUD Planned Unit Development to allow for single-family residential subdivision for property generally located east of County Road 44 and north of Sing Road as legally described in Section 1, Township 19 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Comments from the commission?
Yeah, and again, with the PUD, some of the same requests, the canopy trees in the yards, dark sky lighting. I think currently it's 118, which is a little less than 3, so that's acceptable on the density to me. Is there anybody from the hills? No. So maybe we can just get back to on those things.
Okay. Are we good, Dan? Okay. Any other comments from the commission? Public comments? Okay, this item will lay over. Will someone please introduce 6B6?
I'll introduce to be read by title only, please.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, annexing certain real property consisting of approximately 3.95 plus minus acres, being generally located west of U.S. Highway 27 and east of County Road 33, lying in Section 11, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, providing that said property so annexed shall be liable for its proportionate share of the existing and future indebtedness of said city, providing that such annexed property shall be subject to all laws and ordinances of said city, as if all such territory had been a part of the City of Leesburg at the time of passage and approval of said laws and ordinances, providing that such annexed territory shall be placed in City Commission District 3, and providing an effective date.
Comments from the commission? Public comments? Okay, this item will lay over. Would someone please introduce 6B7?
I'll introduce to be read by title only, please.
An ordinance amending the future land use map of the comprehensive plan of the City of Leesburg, changing the future land use map designation of certain property containing 3.95 plus minus acres from Lake County urban medium density to City of Leesburg general commercial for property generally located west of U.S. Highway 27 and east of County Road 33 as legally described in Section 11, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Any comments from the commission? Public comments? Okay, this item will lay over as well. Would someone please introduce 6B8?
I'll introduce House Bill by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 3.95 plus minus acres from Lake County RMRP Mobile Home Rental Park District to Lake County CP Planned Commercial District to C3 Highway Commercial to allow for a gas station and convenience store for property generally located west of US Highway 27 and east of County Road 33 as legally described in Section 11, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Comments from the commission?
So, yeah, so I'm certainly excited to see the property change from mobile home use to commercial, which goes back to some of these developments we've planned. Now the businesses are coming, but which I'm happy about. But my only question, I guess, for staff would be is, what are our standards for gas stations? I mean, you know, I think the Wawa, which is recent, looks nice, but I don't know if that's just their corporate model. Do we have specific standards?
We don't have any real specific standards. We do have the landscape buffer requirements off the roadway. This particular one, we expect to be, and we can't guarantee it yet, but we expect it to be a 7-Eleven. And we can have landscaping, we can apply the landscape code along 27 and also along 33. And we anticipate there will be entrances on each of those roadways. The benefit of this is not really reducing the number of trips, but reducing trip distance for a lot of the residents, so they don't have to go as far, so they don't clog up the roads.
And do our architectural standards for the corridors, would that apply to this
They
project?
would apply to this, yes.
Okay. All right. I'm okay with it.
Any other comments from the commission? Public comments? Okay, this item will lay over. Would someone please introduce 6B9?
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, annexing certain real property consisting of approximately 33.25 plus minus acres, being generally located south of Post Street and east of Radio Road, lying in Section 2, Township 19 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, providing that said property so annexed shall be liable for its proportionate share of the existing and future indebtedness of said city, providing that such annexed property shall be subject to all laws and ordinances of said city, as if all such territory had been a part of the City of Leesburg at the time of passage and approval of said laws and ordinances, providing that such annexed territory shall be placed in City Commission District 1 and providing an effective date.
Comments from the commission? Public comments? Okay, this item will lay over. Will someone please introduce 6B10?
I'll introduce House Bill by title only.
An ordinance amending the future land use map of comprehensive plan of the City of Leesburg, changing the future land use map designation of certain property containing 33.25 plus minus acres from Lake County urban low density to City of Leesburg estate residential for property generally located south of Post Street and east of Radio Road as legally described in Section 2, Township 19 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Comments from the commission? Public comments? Okay, this item will lay over. Would someone please introduce 6B11?
I'll introduce to be read by title only, please.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 33.25 plus minus acres from Lake County A agriculture to City of Leesburg PUD planned unit development to allow for the development of single-family residential subdivision for property generally located south of Post Street and east of Radio Road as legally described in Section 2, Township 19 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Any comments from the commission?
Just maybe, Dan, if you could kind of hit the highlights.
This one is called Troon Creek Preserve. You'll probably see the PUD on your tables. We didn't get it attached properly when we were putting it together. This is 33.25, give or take, acres, 83 units, so we hit the sweet spot on density of 2.5. This is going to go from, it's an annexation, small-scale comp plan, and rezoning. It'll go from Lake County low density, which is 4 units an acre, to City of Leesburg Estate, which is also 4. And then the zoning will go from agriculture to city PUD. Excuse me, the lot sizes are 50 by 120, giving us 6,000 square feet, 1,600 square foot minimum house size. There are buffers on the north and west. We're given an option on the east side to do a planted buffer or a fence, privacy fence, depending on which option they want to take. We expect the entry access area to be on Poe Road. That, of course, subject to Lake County approval. I had 16,000 square feet of recreation space, which is 200 square feet per unit, which is the standard. And we'll talk more about the roads in future PUDs, but our standard language is basically that the roads stay with the HOA unless it is built to city standards, and then the city accepts the roads. So we have that standard language in there, and I'll work on that. I believe it's at the south side of Poe Road and east of Radio Road.
Commissioner Burry, you want to bring in your dark skylights on this?
Yes, we'd like to
Got it.
include, absolutely.
We'll do that.
Yeah, and I want to be clear, I want all of these that we're currently discussing today
Yeah.
to change the language to the roads to be built to city standards.
And we will do that.
Okay, I just make sure.
Okay, now, thank you, Dan. Any public comments? Okay, this item will lay over. Would someone please introduce 6B12?
Introduce and ask for the title.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, amending Section 25-330 Code of Ordinances to allow 6-foot fences in side yards, subject to application of the 25-foot clear sight triangle and providing an effective date.
Comments from the commission?
Well, outside of the staff time having to do it for the variance, do we have any safety concerns on side corner lots when you're driving up and someone puts a 6-foot fence on the side of a road and you can't see around it? Do we have any issues with safety? Because now we're saying pretty much you don't have to come to the city, just you can put a 6-foot fence on the side of a corner lot.
And that's, we took that into consideration. In what we're talking about here is only in PUD zonings, and what we do in these cases, what we'd like to do is apply the technique, what's called the clear sight triangle. So you go to the corner and you go back 25 feet in each direction. You draw across that. If there's nothing in that area, that leaves enough for a car going this, a car, motorcycle, bicycle, leaves more than enough for a vehicle coming by, so it's safe. Right now, we're charging, I think it's $450 for variances that are honestly not needed at these new subdivisions because of the way they're designed with the setbacks. So that's the purpose of this.
So that's where you say standard residential districts. So is that the difference? A PUD as opposed to just and I'm talking about traditional lots in Leesburg, because oftentimes I'm coming up 15th Street or coming up some other roads, people have landscape, it's already difficult to see. So I'm
Correct.
just looking at a 6-foot fence now, that almost be impossible.
And this would only apply in these, all this new growth that we're getting with the PUDs.
Okay.
About that. There was a couple of cases that has been through the planning and zoning department where the permit was or permit wasn't issued. They come back, then they go through this process. So in the PUDs, we're finding that everybody can have the 6-foot fence. In what I call core Leesburg, you're driving down Tuskegee or you're driving down Bayshore or whatever, the core Leesburg doesn't have that, which is exactly the comment that you brought up. So, if you're turning on whatever street in core Leesburg, older Leesburg, yeah, you can't have that 6-foot fence.
Okay.
But in the PUDs where the limit's 25, where there is that space, then the 6-foot works. So that's why we made it specific for that, for the safety reasons.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
Any other comments from the commission? Public comments? Okay, this item will lay over.
I just have one more comment,
Go
Mayor.
ahead.
And Dan, you put this picture in there. So It says homeowners, occupants are responsible for ensuring proper maintenance of fence structures. So when we're riding down Leesburg and we see a fence that looks like this is a code violation, and the property owner should be repairing this old wooden 20-year-old fence that looks terrible. And your last slide with the fence, you have homeowners and occupants are responsible for ensuring proper maintenance of fence structure. This includes repair, replacement of all post gates and other structural elements, and ensuring your fence is properly painted. So I ride through these around, see these fences all over town. So is this a code violation? And
No,
she'll be making people put new fences up.
But remember, John, this is new development in PUDs.
I'm looking at the picture that staff put in this packet, and I'm saying.
But I think you're right. The property maintenance code wouldn't allow that fence.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what I'm asking. So I mean, we should really be looking, because I mean, it's an eyesore. It's all throughout the city. So.
And yes, sir, that will come under the property maintenance code, which should be reported. Yes, that's correct.
You put it in the packet, Sergeant. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, no, thank you. There were no public comments, so would someone please introduce 6B13?
I'll introduce to be read by title only, please.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, annexing certain real property consisting of approximately 1 plus minus acres, being generally located north of West Main Street and west of County Road 468, lying in Section 28, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, providing that said property so annexed shall be liable for its proportionate share of the existing and future indebtedness of said city, providing that such annexed property shall be subject to all laws and ordinances of said city, as if all such territory had been a part of the City of Leesburg at the time of passage and approval of said laws and ordinances, providing that such annexed territory shall be placed in City Commission District 3, and providing an effective date.
Comments from the commission?
Well, this is real close to me, and I'm concerned about this one. Looks like you have property, and then another piece of property is kind of in the middle, then a property goes around it, and it comes up a butt to the Circle K, 7th Shell Station. It always has a major problem, people making left turns, going into traffic, going back, I guess, north on 468. So with this property being commercial, and I know that the PUD has to have left and a right turn, but you have this little property that's not included right in the middle. So my concern is, I mean, what are we gonna be able to allow them to do safely?
Yes, sir.
With their convenience store, where people are literally should be turning right to turn left, so they don't have to go back to the light. Can we create a development, anything here that's gonna protect, make it safe, or we just gonna let them build and then people gonna risk lives trying to make illegal turns?
I appreciate the question, Commissioner, because the actual project here extends. You see the on the map, we have these small subject properties shown here with that one house that is not within, but the actual project encompasses the project behind the land behind there, and it wraps all the way around to West Main.
Okay.
But that's already in the city and already properly zoned.
Okay.
So we take this 1 acre and match it up to the zoning, and then it allows the developer to bring in office and warehouse type uses which fit right in that area.
Okay.
It allows, and it has an existing access point on West Main, and then they'll be able to create one access point on County Road 468.
Okay.
So it actually, the actual part that's being zoned is smaller than the actual project, because the rest of that property is already in the city.
Okay.
So I
And we're
appreciate
gonna
you bringing
sure
that out.
the traffic counts, make sure those are a proper turn lane that they.
Yes, sir, and we'll be working, that's County Road, and so those will go to Lake County.
Okay.
Dan, will there be cross-access easements with the convenience store?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Actually, they'll have to bring in a cross-access easement to the, and it used to be the dollar store, I think it's the,
Dollar store.
what is it?
It's still a dollar store.
Yes, still a dollar store.
And a construction company.
And a construction company, thank you. And so they'll have to do a cross-access easement there. So you can go literally from the dollar store all the way across and back up and around.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Is the one piece that's not coming in, is that the vacant piece or is it the actual house?
It's the vacant piece that's
It's the
back to
vacant
the
piece.
west of all
Okay,
these.
all right, thanks.
Any other comments from the commission? Any public comments? Okay, this item will lay over. Would someone please introduce 6B14?
I'll introduce to be read by title only, please.
An ordinance amending the future land use map of the comprehensive plan of the City of Leesburg, changing the future land use map designation of certain property containing 1 ± acre from Lake County to City of Leesburg General Commercial for property generally located north of West Main Street and west of County Road 468, as legally described in Section 28, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Comments from the commission?
Just to clarify, that is a house on that piece that's cut out. It's three houses there, and that is a house. That's all I have.
Okay, no, thank you. Any public comments?
Leesburg, Mayor and Commissioners. On the land use portion on item 14, you do mention Main Street. Maybe I'm not going to talk directly with what you're addressing here, but you should allow for future land use map, what we've already been talking about, for future life peace zones. All of downtown Main Street have already been receiving these Bible bookmarks that have been marketing the life peace zones, where your Christmas parade is. So I just want to encourage you to move in the new direction of these new citizen overlay zones, because they do pertain to future land use. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, this item will lay over. Would someone please introduce 6B15?
Introduce and ask for read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 1 ± acre from Lake County R6 Urban Residential District to City of Leesburg C3 Highway Commercial to allow for commercial development for property generally located north of West Main Street and west of County Road 468, as generally described in Section 28, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Comments from the commission? Public comments? Okay, this item will lay over. Will someone please introduce 6B16?
Introduce and ask for read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, adding a planned development overlay to the existing M1 industrial zoning to allow educational facilities and to request a waiver from Section 25-282, parentheses A, parentheses 1, PDO 5-acre minimum requirement for property located south of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and on the east side of Thomas Avenue, as legally described in Section 15, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Any comments from the commission? Public comments? Okay, this item will lay over. Will someone please introduce 6B17?
I'll introduce to be read by title only, please.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, annexing certain real property consisting of approximately 71 ± acres, being generally located east of U.S. Highway 27 and south of Dewey Robbins Road, lying in Section 6, Township 20 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, providing that said property so annexed shall be liable for its proportionate share of the existing and future indebtedness of said city, provided that such annexed property shall be subject to all laws and ordinances of said city, as if all such territory had been a part of the City of Leesburg at the time of passage and approval of said laws and ordinances, providing that such annexed territory shall be placed in City Commission District 3 and providing an effective date.
Comments from the commission? I'll just note that this development's across the street from, I guess, Hodges development, which I voted against, and based on the roads, and I will be against this development based on the roads. Any public comments? This item will lay over. Would someone please introduce 6B18?
Introduced, has to be read by title only.
An ordinance amending the future land use map of the comprehensive plan of the City of Leesburg, changing the future land use map designation of certain property containing 71 plus minus acres from Lake County Rural Transition to City of Leesburg Estate Residential for property generally located east of US Highway 27 and south of Dewey Robbins Road as legally described in Section 6, Township 21 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Comments from the commission? Public comments? Okay, this item will lay over. Would someone please introduce 6B19?
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only, please.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 71 plus minus acres from Lake County A Agriculture to City PUD Planned Unit Development to allow for single-family residential development for property generally located east of US Highway 27 and south of Dewey Robbins Road as legally described in Section 6, Township 21 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Any comments from the commission?
Yeah, and we can make the same comments we've made on some of the others. I'd like to see the canopy trees, the dark sky lighting, and this is only a 2.6 per acre, so I'm happy with the density. It also, the main road, I think, goes out onto Duncan, which is a road that comes off of Dewey Robbins. So I liked that aspect of it also.
And help me out, I guess I thought that was a
No, you're-
possibility. Right now, I thought this is the development punching out on Dewey Robbins.
This is on Dewey Robbins, but it's real close to 27, not as far down.
But the ingress egress, what I saw was basically, help me out, Dan, was matching up to the same entrance with Hodges. Is that correct?
No, sir, actually, the proposed site plan on this one, it comes out on Duncan, and then they'd have to come around to Dewey Robbins.
Yeah.
As it sits right now. The access point, the only access point they're showing is Duncan.
Okay, I'm fine. It's just first reading. Any other comments from the commission? Any public comments? Okay, this item will lay over. Moving on to non-routine items. Do I need to introduce this? Introduce this one? Or just discuss it?
Yeah, it's just a resolution.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay,
Okay.
would someone please introduce?
Introduced, has to be read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the American Rescue Plan Civic Funding Grant Program and providing an effective date.
Move approval.
Second.
Comments from the commission?
I would like to add that, ask that those who received funding before, this is for groups who didn't receive funding, I would like to see us steer towards new groups who missed out, didn't get a chance to get other funding from the American Recovery Act. And if you get a lot of groups, you don't come back and we have to debate over 20 groups getting $2,000, but you kind of look at what comes in and just bring it back to us. I would just hate to see us get at the city council and we argue over who's gonna get, whether it be $10,000 or $20,000 or $5,000 or $2,000.
Right, and that, I think I put that language in there. If I didn't, I will add it. But this is the $100,000 of American Rescue Plan money that the commission allocated for not-for-profit organizations with your intent of not-for-profit organizations that haven't received funding yet. So we have funded the partnership, the Art Center, and the Chamber a couple of times with CARES Act or ARP money. So though that's not for those, it would be other non-for-profit organizations. My suspicion is that we will be inundated with grant applications. So my suggestion, and that's why the amount is blank. So my suggestion is, as long as they're a bona fide 501c3, a not-profit organization, they demonstrated hardship from COVID, they haven't received funding before, that list is going to be pretty broad. So in this one, I would put in a specific time parameter, which is what we tried to do, I think 6 weeks. is we get it advertised, everything will come in, it will go to my office, we'll bundle up all those applications, and I suspect most of them will be qualifying, as Commissioner Christian just said, and then divide the number by the amount, and then that's the grant award. That's how I see it going down. It may change, so once we have all this in, we'll bring it back to you for, you know, a division of the allocation and move from there. But it was time, my apologies for taking so long to get this all printed up and collated and out, but with your blessing today, we'll be able to get it out by Wednesday, start collecting the stuff, and we'll report back to you. I think I put a March 31 deadline on it.
So your intent is if they qualify to meet the requirements, you're going to just split it equally among the applicants?
That's my recommendation.
And I'm
think
fine
you're-
with that. I'm
yeah,
fine
I think
with
you're hard pressed to pick between what group gets what funds, and I know you wanted to see funds get spread out to the affected civic funds, is why we created the grant, but my suspicion is that we're going to get a lot of applications. For example, we got, I think, 150 CARES Act applications, and we were able to fund about like 110 or something. So we got lucky there because we got more money. So I suspect you will see those same numbers.
I'd like to go a little further back on the prior. Where did the August 31, 2020 date come from?
The CARES Act.
So are we allowed to go back further, or do we have to use their date? Because like I would prefer it to be March 1st, 2020, because I think, you know, I worry a lot of when the federal government announced free
I
money,
think-
there were a lot of people started organizations.
We can make that, what was the date?
March 1st, 2020. I think it's before they kind of started talking about stuff. Just make sure. And then the other thing is, I'd like them to have, you know, and I know there's a lag, so I might need some help here, but they've filed a fairly current 990. You know, because anyone can go register as a nonprofit, but many nonprofits don't do the required filings with the IRS. So I think you should, you know, at least, I don't know, 2020, 2021, probably 2020. I don't know that all the 2021s will be filed yet, but whatever the date is.
Probably 2020, CPA tell nonprofits, you guys don't pay taxes, you're the last on the totem pole. Then they give them 6 months extension and say, oh, you're late, so we'll just send 6 months in, so they don't care about
2020,
nonprofits filing on time.
Yeah, oh, 2020. It just shows that like there was some effort to be a legitimate organization.
I like both those comments. Any other comments from the commission? Any public comments? Yeah, please come to the microphone, sir.
John Sokol, you were talking about the 990s, but some of the smaller nonprofits only have to file a postcard, so would that be acceptable?
Yeah, as long as there's some way to prove that it was filed. The
Yeah, the
I'm
IRS
fine.
website
Yeah.
would show that.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
All right.
No, thank you. Any other public comments? So we need to vote on this one tonight? Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Christian,
Yes.
Commissioner Burry,
Yes.
Commissioner Kynell,
Yes.
Mayor Peterson.
Yes. Next item is review the request for proposal of city attorney. There it is.
Mike Thornton, Purchasing Manager. Mayor and Commissioners, as you know, all of you evaluated the RFP for the city attorney services, so we're here tonight to review those results. I put a packet at each of your places that contain this slideshow, as well as the detailed backup information for those of you that are the math geeks. And also, one thing that was not in the original packet, which is best practice, is the compensation proposals were not in there. Those are in your packet that I placed at your spot. And we'll also go over what the compensation amounts were for each of the firms. So with that, this slide here represents the ranking based on quality scores only, which were those scores that you all assigned to each of the proposals. Stone and Gherkin ranked number 1 with quality score. Bose Law Firm was number 2, and we go down Shepard Smith was 3, Brianos and Brianos was 4, and Law Grant PLLC was number 5. So again, that was based strictly on the quality scoring that you all assigned. When we add in the price component, which is their compensation, we have assigned a ratio of quality is worth 85% of the total, price is worth 15% of the total. You can see here that the number 1 and number 2 firms flipped from the quality, so now Vos is number 1 and Stone & Gherkin is number 2 when we include quality and price into the equation. And with that, we will look at discussion on what the next steps are, and what staff recommends is to interview the top 2.
So, quick question on the price.
Yes.
How did we come up with the annual compensation for the hourly? I guess it was some breakdown of.
What I did, and there is a pricing detail sheet in there, is what I did is I normalized the price based on a monthly retainer and an hourly rate, depending on what the firm proposed. So if we look at Vos Law Firm, they proposed an all-inclusive flat $105,000 per year. It includes everything. You look at some of the other ones, they would have proposed a monthly retainer fee and then an hourly rate, and I used 700 hours as the billable hours per year, which was based on past billings from Mecklen and Bernstein.
Okay, great, thank you.
So I basically took all those numbers and kind of normalized them into an amount that we could compare apples to apples.
And when you took that 700 hours, did you bill it all at the attorney rate, or was it a mix of attorney paralegal, or
One of the firms, WAG Grant, provided 3 different attorney rates, and I took the average of those 3 and used that.
But it was all at attorney. We didn't use any paralegal time there.
No.
Okay.
Most of them only proposed attorney rates.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. And I was trying to rush through this before the meeting. Yeah. I thought some had paralegal, but that's okay. That's fine. Thank you.
So again, we're here tonight to go over what the results were, and what we recommend as the next steps would be to interview the top 2. And to try to accelerate the selection, we would recommend doing that at a special meeting. And then following that, those interviews would be to select a firm, and hopefully by the 24th have a contract or a letter of engagement.
And so, and I'm sorry, it would just, is it possible, not obviously right now tonight, but to go back to the Macklin Historical and see if they're billing all attorney or a combination of attorney paralegal? Because I know Briones and Stone and Gherkin gave a different parallel rate, which is like half or less than the attorney rate. And so I'm just worried that we may be overstating the annual.
We don't have that in the breakdown of the bills from, historical bills from Mecklen and Bernstein.
Okay. Because it's not going to be, I mean, I don't know, from my experience with paying attorneys, you don't get billed 100% attorney time. It's some sort of breakdown. So I don't know if there's a way to do that.
Here's
or
what I would
overstating that
suggest.
number.
I think Mike's methodology was appropriate. I see where you're saying that the methodology might have made Stone and Gherkin and Briones higher, which made us shuffle the deck.
And I don't think it would have swapped, to be clear.
Well, and look, this is our recommendation, the top 2. If you guys want to dig into the deck, and I don't think you necessarily under the competitive negotiate. What is it? The competitive CCNA, Competitive Consultant Negotiation Act. This is a variant of this. It doesn't apply to that. So you can grab who you want from that list. Okay, so you could grab 1 and 5. You could grab 3 and 2. We're recommending 1 and 2. So if Commissioner, if you're worried about the pricing skewing the ranking that we showed you, invite who you want. We recommended 2 because that was who it was, and we recommended 2 just to keep things going. So if you want to interview 1, none, or all 5, let us know. Our suggestion is, I think the process is a little bit cumbersome because the commission hires 2 people, your attorney and your manager, and you guys have to function in the sunshine. So it's hard to avoid that. I mean, and keep the process quick. So we could schedule individual interviews where you just meet one-on-one, but that's just going to drag this process out on for a long time. So the thought was a special meeting, we put you in the room, we put them in the hot chair, and you guys interview them in the public setting with an advertised meeting. So, and you can do as much as that or as little as you want. So really what we need from you tonight is we need firm A, B, C, D, E. You want to have a formal interview or no interview with, and you know, it could just be by a majority vote. If you want firm A, if 3 people raise their hand, you want to talk to them, we'll put them on the list, blah, blah, blah. So what you have is a formulaic approach. I haven't used that term in a long time. And you can deviate from it.
Is that a word?
It is. I got it from John Moyle.
This method, you know, the formula and all that is an attempt to take what's a very subjective process and try to make it objective. You know, and kind of this just kind of establishes a discussion point. You know, here's what the results were, now let's discuss it, and now let's see where you want to head. Keep in mind, though, that when we're adding the price in, only 1 and 2 changed positions. 3, 4, and 5 didn't change at all.
And I'm okay with this. I tend to get bogged down in the numbers. So.
Unless the paralegal number skewed it that much, but
Yeah.
I don't think it would. Well, maybe a position or 2.
I guess just for clarity point, Mike, on the Boss Law Firm, that 4th paragraph, all our flat fee proposal gives complete budgetary certainty as the City of Leesburg attorney expense of the city, including litigation, while providing unlimited access to the best local legal talent available in the state. So they're basically saying for that 105, litigate. Al says he's got employee issue. They're gonna have to go out and get another attorney for the employee. They're gonna do bond counsel. You're gonna have to go get a bond counsel. That's what they're saying here. They got bond counsel, employment and labor law, representing the city's enterprise fund. So as Al came to us, I need a lawyer for enterprise fund. They're gonna do all of that for 105.
According to their proposal, yes. I would have to clarify the employee item because we do have a separate labor law attorney that we currently use to handle those.
And you brought up a bunch of different things.
That's what I got in thing. I'm just reading
I know, but here's where rubber meets reality.
Right.
We worked with Fred from Macklin & Burson for so long, it just became second nature, and he was always here. So a bond issue, we're about to do one.
Right.
We will still have bond counsel, and your in-house city attorney typically does work with your bond counsel. So on your question, yeah, if you had Voss, they're gonna work and not charge us when they work with the bond counsel, and you will get a bill from bond counsel.
Okay.
And that's how it worked with Fred. So Fred would have billed us $1.50 for when he worked with bond counsel, that which turned in, and then we ended up paying the bond counsel. So it's not gonna eliminate your bond counsel bills. Collective bargaining stuff. Typically, we don't use an attorney when an employee wants one. If they bring an attorney because they have a grievance, they typically do that themselves, or they're represented by the union. But if it rose to the level that we would need an attorney at a grievance or during the CBA, then under the Voss proposal, that should be provided to us for very little. Or that should not very little, that should be in there.
And
109.
we did provide historical billings to all the participants, so they all had access to what I believe is the previous 24 months of what our city attorney billings looked like.
And help me out, Mike. There's a qualifier. It does not include the insurance defense work.
I'm sorry, where's that at?
The first paragraph on Voss Law Firm. I mean, which makes perfectly good sense to me. I just want to be sure the commission is aware of that as well.
And the insurance one's not atypical. You know, typically when, Brown & Brown does a lot of our claims, so we'll get work comp claims or we'll get general liability claims. Generally, those insurance companies that represent us on work comp or general liability, they bring their own attorneys to the table.
Okay, thank you. I guess that's what I was trying to clarify.
When we get into those issues. They're seldom, we have had them, but when we do get into those where we end up having to go to mediation and talk about a settlement, those insurance companies will have their own counsel, and then it's typically reviewed by
Our counsel.
your
Okay,
in-house.
thank you for clarifying that.
Have you worked with any of these firms before?
Yes, Briones.
That's what Michael Burns are.
Yes, I know Stephanie well, Stephanie Briones. She has worked with us in HR specific cases. I think she's worked with Chief Hicks on some cases.
No, I spoke with Al about that because I asked him about our experience with the firm. Stephanie has a track record with us, but her husband partner does not. So, dealing directly with staff.
Mark would fill in when Fred wasn't available.
Yeah, Mark's
when he was at
been,
Mecklenburg.
Nick, Mark's been to, I don't know if, I could pick, I think I would know Mark by face, because he sat in that chair a couple times, but, yes,
Dan,
yes,
to
I know
your point about,
Briones.
to Dan's point about the paralegal, Stone and Gherkin are bringing in a paralegal with the, I have a note in my stuff that says we get a paralegal with him. So I'm not sure why they're so high priced then, as, per to your conversation.
Well, he just plugged the hourly rate. Help me out, Mike. He just plugged the hourly rate that they proposed for the attorney times 700 hours. And I guess my reaction to that is if the commission wants to interview the first two, maybe Stone and Gherkin can come in and explain that to us a little bit better at that time.
Because I think the Stone and Gherkin and Briones are probably more like 150 to 160 when you break out. They're going to bill some of the time at a paralegal rate, but it's not going to be enough to move the needle, like you said, like on the stuff. But this is one case where if it were just my decision, I would be looking at Stone and Gherkin and Briones. So even if I hadn't looked at everything else, just based on the price, because $105,000 is too cheap for a city attorney. And I normally, I like to save money, but
Did you say that, Dan? Say it again.
having a cheap lawyer is not always a good thing.
You'll pay later.
And I kind of wonder, how you can do that at that rate, and what are you really getting? Who's really dealing with your stuff when they're just giving you a flat fee? Are you really getting the attention you need? Those numbers, honestly, they scare me. Hell, even the others were Senator was 225, Briones was at 215. I haven't seen a legal rate on a bill, a check I've signed that low in a long time. So, the low numbers honestly concern me.
Well, does the commission want to interview the firms? What is the commission? How do you want to move forward?
If we're going to interview, I certainly would like to interview Grant Watson.
I guess my question is, are we going to make a decision tonight, or do we want to interview firms? That's my question.
We need you to make a decision tonight. You guys need to give us some firm names so we can set up interviews. Unless you flat out have a winner that you want
I guess that's my
to
question.
engage with tonight.
Do we have a winner, or do we want to move forward? What's the pleasure of the commission?
Personally, for me, I'll speak up. I think I have no problem with the first two, Voss and Stone and Gherkin, but I also like to interview Briones because of familiarity with the city. And I think it's an important decision for the city, so I have no problem with time. I don't have a problem interviewing all five of them because I think it's an important decision, but those three for me.
Other comments?
I think I would agree with John on that. Those three would be fine with me to interview.
Okay. So we in agreement to interview those three?
So the three we had then would be Stone and Gherkin. The top three? Is what
No, I'm sorry. I didn't say
Yeah,
that
they're
right.
not the top three.
No, they're not top three.
But the three that it looks like three commissioners nodded their head on that you wanted to interview was Voss, Stone and Gherkin, and Briones.
Yes, and I'm good with that too.
You want to add somebody?
It's not necessary. I'm sold, kind of. I like one of the cars, so.
You're just not ready to go public yet.
This is a difficult process.
Yes, it
you guys typically, as an organization, you don't hire an attorney,
Good. Thanks,
and
Mike.
hopefully a manager very often. So it's difficult, and there's some mixing and matching and some public compromising that we have to do. I have purposely tried not to advise you as far as firms and those type of things, because the attorney needs to be
Independent of
independent of the manager, as much as I hate to admit it, but in all seriousness, they do. Having said that, I think your extension there to these three firms is a good move.
I mean, you can make a motion if you'd like, Commissioner Burry, but I think, sounds like the commission's leaning toward interviewing three of them.
And I'm okay with that. When I look at the quality rankings, we're leaving number 3 out, and leaving number 3 out, in quality and price, and interviewing number 4 instead. And that's just the rankings we did. So I'm okay with that. But I think maybe if we're going to sit down and interview, maybe we ought to do 4. We ought to include the guys from Shepherd Smith.
From a procurement standpoint, I agree with that, because it's hard to skip 3 and include 4.
Yeah.
But if you did only want to do the 3, we could look at it as that we're including the 3 firms that did get a number 1 ranking from one of the commissioners, which would be the 3 that you originally discussed, which would be 1, 2, and 4, if we looked at it from that perspective.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. You want to bring in 3?
I'd like to.
That'll make Jim happy. Let's do it.
Okay, so the consensus now is to interview the top 4.
From a procurement standpoint, that makes a good.
Okay, so top 4, and I'm assuming that we will try our very best to try to get this wrapped up by the 24th. I don't know if we can do it, but what I'm going to suggest is we will contact the 4 firms, and we'll do special meetings. Is everybody okay with a special meeting in the afternoon or morning? Is there a specific time frame? Everybody works? We'll just hunt and peck and try to, I'm going to say 45-minute interviews, and with 4 firms, maybe we do 2 one day, 2 the next, and then reserve like a 45-minute segment after interview number 4 to discuss and vote on a selection. Something like that. Try to get it wrapped up so that we have a potential contract before you on the 24th. If we miss the 24th, I'm sure that by March 14th, we can get it wrapped up.
It's actually the 28th. my mistake.
Is it the 28th?
We'll say,
It's the 24th, isn't it?
28th will be the
February?
next commission meeting, will be 28th.
14 and
yeah.
20, 14 and 14 is 20.
Today's Valentine's Day, Al.
Yeah.
I have flowers sitting in my truck.
They're gonna be dead, man.
I kept the window open. And she's watching too, so all my points are now out the window.
Oh my God.
On the interviews, I guess 2 things. One is just can we make sure that the attorney that they say is going to be representing us is there, and they don't send a different partner.
Thank you for that
Just to make
clarification.
sure. And the other thing is, I would request that we not make the decision after the last interview, that we do it at our next commission meeting. I just worry about recency bias. We're going to the person we saw the last the most. And I think it's a good idea to take a step back and wait and think about it.
With that comment, so that's what we'll do. We'll try to get all 4 done before the 28th, and we'll put a discussion item on the 28th agenda with a potential final contract for the 11th.
And who
Did
all
I
will
get my
participate?
dates right?
Yes. Who all will participate? Obviously, you.
The 5 commissioners. Myself, I'll be there to help you out. Mike will
Mike.
be there to help you out, and Andy will be there to take the minutes. And it'll be a public meeting. It'll be so whoever shows up from the public.
Is there value in the current city attorney sitting in case we have questions? And I'm just asking. I don't.
I hear the meter ticking, so.
Good answer.
He works for you, not me.
I was just thinking out loud. I mean, I threw that out to the commission. No? Okay. I do it out for discussion. Okay, are we good there?
And typically, the way I like to work these is as true interviews, so if you can come with questions you want to direct at them, and I will instruct them to bring the attorney that will be assigned to the city's account.
And ahead of time too, we'll put together, we'll work with Melissa a little bit too, and get you a formal kind of a question list that you may want to consider. So we'll send that out again.
And I know Stone and Gherkin and maybe at least one other firm did interject the paralegal rate. I mean, can we give the firms a heads up so they can come prepared to maybe answer questions on that?
On what would be assigned to a paralegal?
On the paralegal and how that might impact this number.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like what percentage would they foresee as attorney bill?
I just feel like they deserve a chance to explain their number because they just gave us a fee, hourly rate for the attorney and hourly rate for the paralegal.
Right, and again, that number, I took, worst case, we have no way of knowing what.
No, I think you did a great job. I follow your methodology, and it's kind of hard for a law firm to answer that question as well. I guess it depends on the case, the workload. But I just feel like they deserve a heads up on that before the interviews. Any other comments? Is that it on that one?
We're good.
Okay.
We'll be in touch.
Cool. Okay. Moving on to informational reports. The reports are provided to the commission. They're in the packet. Okay. City attorney items.
No items.
Nothing. City manager items.
No items.
Roll call.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes, I mentioned Al, last night I received an inbox from a resident of Stock Subdivision. She was very concerned about the recent gun violence in Stock Subdivision, so I wanted the chief, if he would come and give us some idea of a strategy, because I actually rode through Stock Subdivision at least 4 or 5 times this weekend just to see what type of activity was going on. And I guess we have some younger residents who are pretty much walking through the neighborhood and taking control. The neighbors are afraid. So I think a young lady, she told me, got shot Tuesday driving out the driveway, and there's probably about 4 or 5 other instances of gunfire. And of course, we had a couple gunshot victims in Carver Heights the last couple of weeks. So I was like, see, what's our strategy to curb some of the gun violence, our police presence, what strategies we have to eliminate or at least make our residents feel safe.
Good evening, Commissioner. So over the past few weeks, we've been continuing to implement some of our gun crime policies. We're working with, and I want to kind of get into, and I'll try to wrap this up a little bit. So statewide, we've been experiencing, and nationwide, a pretty massive increase in violent crime. Locally, especially within Marion, Lake, Orange counties, to include probably Sumter, the amount of juvenile gun crime has been significant. So much so as we're working with the state attorney's office, us in Ocala and Marion County, as to work with them on our cases to bring some legislation to the governor to help tighten up some of the gun laws and some of the juvenile crime consequences that are occurring. The Department of Juvenile Justice is working with us steadily, and so that's on the broader scale. And then when we bring it down a little bit more, we're identifying and isolating some of the juvenile crime that's occurring in our specific area. A lot of the shooters involved in this do not live within the city limits of Leesburg. They come in to the city, and there's crime that's going on. We're finding a lot of it has to do with social media stuff. It's not the traditional gangs that you've come to know through TV. These gangs are clicked up through their social media channels and who they like and that sort of thing. So it's a little bit different. A lot of the shootings that we've experienced in our city are coming from outside of our city. One of the shootings you referenced, it was actually the recent homicide. That was a juvenile who moved into the city within a week of that occurring, just turned power on that day to their house. Immediately after the shooting, went back to Ocala, which is where they were from, where we made the arrest on him at that location. We had some great community partners help us with so far all of these crimes. All of the shootings that occurred in the Carver Heights area, we've made arrests on due to our community partnership. That has been excellent. So then bringing it down on a tighter scope, we're working with, so Eustis experienced 4 shootings in the past 2 weeks. 1 shot in the face, juvenile shooter in that as well. We got with them a couple weeks ago. We're working with Florida Department of Law Enforcement, Mount Dora, Eustis, Tavares, creating a task force there, kind of pooling our resources to assist with that. And then bringing it even closer to us. So for the past week or so, going on 2 weeks, I have mandatory overtime for officers that are going into, there's 2 officers that are staying in Carver Heights, and then they're also going over into Stock Subdivision. They're rotating back and forth, and it's a combination. I don't want to get into tactics of what's going on, but that's on overtime. It's hard filling those slots. I got Lieutenant Barrett back there was in Carver Heights all night. I got my lieutenants working overtime details, and we're getting out there the best that we can. And we're going to continue to do that. The kids that are walking around, that is an issue that we have. I called Ken Thomas. We talked with him a little bit in talking about taking a community approach as well. So we're looking at, amnesty boxes essentially aren't the greatest. They don't work necessarily. We did Kicks for Guns for quite a while. We got a lot of guns turned in through that, and I think that was effective, but it wasn't hitting the meat of it. So what we're looking at is we're going to, in working with community partners, have grandparents and parents or whomever, they see a gun in a drawer of a kid, just take the gun, bring it to the amnesty area, drugs, whatever, we don't care what it is, no questions asked all the time, not just when, in a certain time frame, because that kid has to then ask for that gun. So some of the problems that we're running into that we are working with our community partners on, and we're hoping it has an impact, is there seems to be the parental units, whether it's grandparents or guardians, are not getting involved when they see the kid with a gun, and it's either through intimidation or they do feel that the kid needs it for protection. So that's obviously a societal issue that we've got to work on a bigger scale. But I think the amnesty helps. Kid's gone, gun's gone. Kids got to figure out where it is. So, we're working on that level. We've been in communication with quite a few members, residents inside Stock Subdivision about what's going on. The scary part for us is especially when the drive-by shootings are occurring. They're shooting up houses. Sometimes they're shooting up, quote unquote, the wrong house. I don't know what you would call the right house, but not the target of who they were trying to shoot. And innocent people are having to deal with that situation. So we are actively out there and enforcing this stuff, and we're going to continue to do that. And we're going to develop further strategies. Personnel is an issue. I mean, we need more people on the streets. We need to be able to deploy, because while we're dealing with violent crime, I'm commissioner dealing with 2,000 emails about traffic boxes in our gated communities. And so they deserve all the same, perks that everybody else is getting. So those are some of the challenges that we have, but I wanted to lay out for you some of the strategies that we're employing as well.
Thanks, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chief Hicks.
Speaking of that, Chief. Did we get those boards out there to track some of the traffic?
So yes, I hope nobody in the Legacy is watching this. So they're the covert boxes, and they kept calling me and asked, like you said, and they said, great, I'll get the email out. And I said, don't. We're trying to capture what normal driving would be like. And they go, yeah, with a wink. And then so I think we're just going to capture whoever doesn't live in there and what they're driving. So we've got meandering trails. We just put them out on Aurora, and then we'll put them out on a street to be unnamed in a week from now. Then we'll see how that goes. And then we'll share. We're going to analyze it. We have computer analytics in a program. We're going to analyze it. I'll call a smaller meeting, if that's possible. I don't know, and we'll go over that. And certainly, sir, you're welcome to come along to that. I would encourage that.
Thank you, Chief.
You can do the meeting outside in Stock Subdivision.
Say that again?
You can do the meeting outside in Stock Subdivision.
Yes.
And then maybe they wouldn't worry about their problems so much.
There would be a lot of people showing up.
Thanks. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, no, okay. Thank you very much, Chief.
Thanks.
Commissioner Brady,
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Connell,
No, ma'am.
Mayor Peterson.
I just wanted to ask Al just for a brief update on the downtown building redevelopment grant program, if there is any update.
There is no update.
We haven't had any
We'll-
applications?
No applications. We'll get, we will get it posted on the website and get it rolling. But no.
Okay, I had someone ask me, so I thought I would ask you in public. No other comments, the meeting is adjourned.
Happy Valentine's. Get your flowers, Al.